Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk about this essay by Mahatma Gandhi titled The Way to Equal Distribution. The title might raise the question in your mind, equal distribution of what? Equal distribution of wealth in society. So before we go into the essay, let us talk a little bit about Mahatma Gandhi. I need not tell you about Mahatma Gandhi in detail because we all know the father of our nation and what he meant to the Indian freedom struggle. But I will tell you a little bit about his life and his philosophy, those points which are relevant to the study of this essay. Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, was born on 2nd October 1869 in Porbandar and died on 30th January 1948 in Delhi. He was a preeminent leader of Indian nationalism and prophet of non-violence in the 20th century. And this idea of non-violence is linked to the equal distribution of wealth in society in this particular essay, and we will see how. In 1906, Gandhiji first put into action Satyagraha, his technique of non-violent resistance. His success in South Africa gave him an international reputation, and in 1915, he returned to India and within a few years became the leader of a nationwide struggle for Indian home rule. By 1920, Gandhiji commanded influence hitherto unattained by any political leader in India. He undertook major campaigns of non-violent resistance in 1920 to 22, the non-cooperation movement. 1930 to 34, including his famous march to the sea to collect salt to protest against government monopoly. Okay, that is something which we know as Dandi March. And 1942, the Quit India movement. In the 1930s, he also campaigned to end discrimination against India's lower caste untouchables. At that time, the situation was very severe for Dalits. And Gandhiji concentrated on educating rural India, promoting cottage industry. Okay. Now, let us go into the essay. Let us begin with some questions which would help us understand the essay in a systematic way. What does an equal distribution of wealth imply? Why is it necessary? How can we work for it at the individual level? The real implication or suggestion of this phrase, equal distribution of wealth, is that each man shall have the wherewithal. This word refers to the means needed for a particular purpose. Okay. So if each man has the means to supply all his natural needs, that is food, water, clothing, shelter, and no more, then we will say that there is the possibility of equal distribution of wealth in society. Now, the concept of basic needs must be understood properly. Our basic needs differ based on our work. For instance, an officer who sits with files all day, probably in an AC room, would require a lesser quantity of rice or bread as compared to someone who is engaged in manual labor every day, probably someone who goes to the fields and works, from early morning to evening every day. Okay, hard physical labor. So that person would require his basic needs, so far as food is concerned, will be different from the basic needs of an officer, okay, regarding food. Now, both kinds of people should have the means to meet their proportionate needs. So an officer should have, enough to meet his requirement of food, and let us say a farmer should have enough to meet his requirement of food. Only then can we say that there is equal distribution of wealth. Why is it necessary? An equal distribution of wealth is necessary because the disparity, this difference between the rich and the poor is frightening in India. We say that, in the Indian society has developed a lot and we are achieving so much at the global level. But what is the poverty rate in India? What is being done to uplift the poor people? Is there a solution that the Indian society has come up with? Not yet. And that is why this discussion is really important. It is relevant. Okay. So then, if we understand that this is necessary, equal distribution of wealth is necessary, how can we make it a reality? And if we want to make it a reality, we will have to begin at the individual level. We have to change ourselves first. We can work towards achieving this if we make a beginning at the individual level. We must not wait for others to take the initiative. And this is where we often go wrong. We think that, this is something wrong happening in our society, but I cannot speak against it. I cannot, I do not have the courage to just raise my voice. Let someone else raise his or her voice and then I will give support, or then I will follow. This is usually the thought. What if each of us thinks that way? What if each of us waits for someone else to begin the protest and actually nobody protests? Then there will be no positive change in the society. Okay, so that is what the essay gives importance to. Don't wait for others to take the initiative. If you understand that there must be equal distribution of wealth, then you change your own habits. You live such a life that you utilize whatever earning is there in your family. You utilize it in such a way that your basic needs are met and extra money is saved for the benefit of those who don't have that kind of money, but those who need it. Okay. So the essay says, if we wait for others to bring about any kind of change, probably that change will never happen. If it happens, it would be very late. Okay. Now, what are the necessary changes in one's personal life that must be made if we want to have an equal distribution of wealth in our society? Number one, reduce your wants to a minimum. There is a difference between our needs and our wants. I don't need it, but I want it. So then that becomes a problem because our wants are unlimited. Okay, I got this. Now I want something else. Okay, I got that too. Now I want, these things because I saw someone else having these particular things and I don't have them. So I must get them. So you see, our wants never have an end, but our needs are limited. And, it has been said that the earth has enough to meet our needs and not our greed. Okay. So first of all, reduce wants to a minimum. You analyze yourself. Do I really want this? Do I need this or do I want this? There is a difference. And, if I can do without it, then I must save the money. Probably it will come in use for the benefit of the society. Okay. So reduce wants to a minimum, bearing in mind those who do not have the means to meet basic needs. Then adopt honesty in earnings. If you are working somewhere, then, okay, you are earning money, you are doing a regular job, you have enough to support your family. But whatever you are earning, did you earn them using honesty or were you dishonest? If you were dishonest, it means that someone else was deprived of their right. They would have, got this service without paying anything. But because you are greedy, because you are corrupt, you demand money from them and they have to pay. So the poor, they are exploited by those who are already rich. Because, as I told you, the wants are always unlimited. The more you have, the more you want. Okay. So that is why the essay gives importance to this. Adopt honesty in earnings so that one does not have to pay extra for his or her right. Because, remember this, everyone's right is someone else's duty. Okay, so you have a right to knowledge. You are students, you have a right to knowledge. And it is my duty to impart knowledge. If I do it in the right manner, then your right will be taken care of. Okay, because it is my duty. If I do my duty well, then your right will be taken care of. Okay, you don't need to fight for your right because someone, is doing his or her duty well. So it is as simple as that. What is the third point? Give up the desire for speculation. Now here, this is actually a term used in finance, speculation. What does it mean? In finance, speculation is the purchase of an asset. Okay, something, it could be land, it could be real estate, buildings, all these things. So purchase of an asset with the hope that it will become more valuable shortly. It will become valuable in future. So, okay, I have enough property, but, I have to take care of this financial speculation. So I have to buy more property so that after some years, when its value would have increased, I would sell it and I would have more of money. Okay. So if we have this kind of an attitude, it means what? We have enough money. That is why we are able to buy, land and then buildings, all those things. But we want to make more money in future. Okay, so this is financial speculation. So what do? We are accumulating wealth. Let all money come to me as much as I can earn. But this attitude is actually harmful for our society because the more I keep for myself, the less someone else will have. Probably, there will be people who will not have enough to eat. No, they will not have enough clothes to wear and they will not have shelter. But, you will keep on having more and more money. Okay, so if we are able to meet our basic needs, then we must give up the desire for speculation, financial speculation. Then exercise self-restraint in every sphere of life. Self-restraint. You have to exercise that control over your wants in every sphere of life. Okay. So if you do all these things, if you make these significant changes in your personal lives, then you will be able to ask others to follow the same path. Okay. So this is what the essay talks about. Then we talked about personal changes. Now there is another concept, an important concept, which Gandhiji introduced. It was the concept of trusteeship. What is it? Gandhiji's theory of trusteeship is an idea that wealthy people, rich people, should consider their property something that God trusted them to manage as trustees for the benefit of the poor. What a beautiful idea it is. First, we have to understand it. If the rich people, those who have more than they require, more than they need, okay, so if they realize that they must use whatever is necessary in their lives, and the extra money which they own, they must be trustees of that extra money or extra property. Trustees for whom? For the poor people. Who are trustees? They take care of something for someone else. So if the rich people realize that, let me take care of my extra money, save my extra money, so that I may use it for the benefit of the society, for my brothers and sisters who are not as fortunate as I am. What a beautiful idea. But you know, this concept has often been criticized by many people as impractical. So some have said, no, saying this is very easy. How many rich people will actually agree to part with their money, to part with their property? How many rich people will say, oh, I want to, give away the money that I don't need to poor people? Will they actually do it? So this is impractical. Some have criticized this, philosophy as impractical. Some have said that it is supportive of the landowning class. So some have accused Gandhiji, saying that Gandhiji actually supports the landowning class. Gandhiji actually supports the rich because he wants the rich to have the money. He does not say that you should take away the extra money from the rich and give it to the poor. So he was also criticized for supporting the rich and the landowning class. But the positive aspects of Gandhiji's idea have not been properly understood, and that is why such criticisms have been made. This essay helps us understand the true value of trusteeship as something that addresses the ills of capitalism and communism. What is capitalism? Capitalism says that there should be private property. Whatever I can earn, that should be mine. Okay. So capitalism supports private ownership of property. Communism says that there should be no private property. Whatever I earn, I will give it to a collective fund, and the state will manage that fund, and then the state will distribute whatever is there equally between all the members of the society. So on the one hand, you have capitalism. On the other hand, you have communism. Okay, communism believes that there should be no rich people at all. Everyone should have an equal amount of money given to them. Okay. But Gandhiji proposes a middle path. Neither capitalism nor communism, because Gandhiji believes in humanity. Gandhiji highlights that if all wealth is owned by the state, as communism suggests, individuality will be lost. So all will be given an equal amount of money. So then where is the individuality? Your talent. Suppose you are talented. Okay. And whatever money you earn as a salary, you get placement in a good place. So that is also an incentive for you, because you have worked hard and you have your talent. So you have your individuality. So if that concept of equal money being distributed to everyone is given, then nobody would want to work upon their talents. No, they will say, okay, why do I need to earn so much? I will just earn whatever I need. Then, because, anyway, the state will take away all my money and then we all will be given an equal share. This is possible. This mindset is possible. So probably people will not work hard. People will not exercise their talent because there will be no incentive. There will be nothing to encourage them. Okay. So hard work might be compromised. And if people do not work hard, then society, collectively will suffer. Society will not progress. If the superfluous means something which is more than necessary. There is also another way. If superfluous wealth is forcibly taken away from the rich to be distributed to the poor, whoever is rich, let us rob them and take away all their money and distribute the money amongst us poor people. Okay. That attitude will lead to violence in society. No one will feel safe. Okay. Peace will be lost. So these are some of the problems that communism could give rise to, according to Gandhiji. But if rich people voluntarily, out of their own will, they turn trustees for the poor, then man's innate ability of being good can be developed. So we often, we have heard that deep down, man is evil. Only because, there is law, there is religion, or there is some kind of fear of punishment that, we pretend to be good. But Gandhiji does not believe in that. Gandhiji believes that deep down man is actually good, because we don't believe in ourselves, because we don't exercise that goodness, because we don't practice, we don't bring it out often, we suppress that goodness. That is why we do all wrong things. But Gandhiji says that deep down, all human beings, they have that goodness in them. When they forget that goodness, when they lose touch with that goodness, they do all kinds of horrible things to their fellow human beings. Okay. So Gandhiji says, if rich people, they realize that they are good and that they can part with their money for the benefit of the poor people, okay, then the society will witness harmonious living. All people in the society, they can live harmoniously. There will be no violence and there will be no difference. Okay. Then, trusteeship is further explained in the essay. If man looks upon himself as the servant of the society and earns so that he may help others who are in need, then there will be Ahimsa. Ahimsa, non-violence. Okay. There will be a revolution. There will be a change. This is a very big change, right? That Gandhiji is proposing. If, the rich people, they change themselves and they think that, they can give away their extra money to the poor. This is a kind of revolution, a big change, right? But this revolution will not be violent. It will be peaceful. This change will happen in society and this change will be peaceful. See, whatever ideas helped Gandhiji develop this philosophy of trusteeship, those ideas he got from the study of scriptures. Many of those ideas he got from scriptures. Okay. For example, the idea of aparigraha or non-possession. This attitude where you do not want to possess wealth. You just realize that I am taking care of this extra wealth for someone who might need it. Okay. So that is called aparigraha. Then Samabhava means equability, looking at all other human beings with an eye of equality. They are not lesser as compared to me. We are all equal. So it's not that I have the right to earn so much and they don't have the right to money, to basic needs. No. Samabhava. Okay. Then anasakti, selfless action. Okay. If I am talented, if I am hardworking and I am able to earn money, it means, I am doing my duty. I'm bringing money so that I may save it and give it to someone who is in need. So I'm earning money, but I'm not attached to the money that I am earning. I can give away my money whenever I see that someone else is in greater need of that money than me. Okay, so I will earn money, but I will not be attached to that money. This is the concept of detachment or selfless action. I'm taking action. It's not that I'm not working hard, I'm not using my talents. No, I am doing all that work, but selflessly, without getting attached to the fruits of action. Okay, so all these things, all these ideas, they helped Gandhiji develop this concept of trusteeship. Okay, now, what else does the essay say? We must not think that Ahimsa will not work in the contemporary society, that it is only an individual trait of someone like Gandhiji. See, it is very easy to dismiss the concept of Ahimsa, saying that, only Gandhiji could have adopted Ahimsa in his life. It is not practical in our daily life. If we adopt Ahimsa, then probably we will become victim to someone else's hinsa or violence. Okay, but that is not true. Ahimsa is powerful, and that is why Gandhiji could earn independence for our country only by adopting non-violent methods. There is power in Ahimsa, only we do not realize it. Gandhiji says that Ahimsa is the collective trait of society. I told you Gandhiji believed in the innate goodness of man. Gandhiji believed that there is goodness deep down inside every individual. Okay. And that is why he believes that Ahimsa is the collective trait of society. That is what he expresses in this essay. He says that we have not realized its worth. Why? Because we have never experimented it in real life. We are afraid to try it. That's why one will not find enough examples in history where Ahimsa has been adopted as a way of life. We will find very few examples in history of people who have actually sincerely adopted Ahimsa. Okay. Now, there is also another question that is raised. Often religion is associated with violence. Okay, so there is this question that will rejecting religion solve the problem of inequality? See, before we come to this particular question, we must understand that Gandhiji experimented with truths throughout his life and was confident that big discoveries could be made in the field of non-violence, just as discoveries were being made daily in the field of violence. So bombs were discovered, new weapons of destruction were discovered. Why then nothing was being discovered in the field of non-violence? That is also a field where people could experiment, could do research and find out new methods of non-violence. But nobody does research in that area. We always do research in the field of violence, and we find out new, weapons that could destroy countries, humanity. We know what is happening currently, the state of war that nations are in the present times when the war does not end. Okay. So Gandhiji So thought, why couldn't we make discoveries in the field of non-violence? Okay, now let us come back to this question. If we root out religion from our society, if our society has no religion, will the problem be solved? In the essay, Gandhiji stresses that religion cannot possibly be rooted out from society, and it shouldn't be. It cannot be rejected and it shouldn't be rejected. Both these things. Because religion is not evil. Rather, it encourages human beings to live by God's laws. Every religion wants peace in the society. Every religion wants men and women to lead good lives. Okay, so religion does not teach anything bad. Then why is there violence based on religion? Why do people fight in the name of religion? Why are people exploited in the name of religion? Because we interpret religion in the wrong way. It is our fault. We interpret or read religion in the wrong way. And that is why there are superstitions, there is intolerance, there are wrong beliefs in religion. And then there is chaos in society, there is havoc in society. We must understand that all religions, they preach equality, because all religions tell us that we are all sparks of the divine. If we remember what Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan said in his address to the students. So nothing is wrong with religions as such. There is something wrong with the way we interpret religions. And that is why there is violence in society. So Gandhiji says, no, religion is not the problem. And we should not even think of rooting out religion from society. Then Gandhiji makes a very important point. He has already told us about how the rich people can reform themselves so that there will be equal distribution of wealth. Now, Gandhiji says that the poor people can also play a role in equal distribution of wealth. Not by using violent means, not by robbing the rich people and taking away the extra wealth from them. No. If poor people also realize the value of non-violent protest, then they can fight for their rights using infallible methods of non-violent non-cooperation and civil disobedience. So we all know about the non-cooperation movement. We all know about the civil disobedience movement. So Gandhiji says that these methods are infallible. That means these methods are effective. These methods are strong. And these methods can never go wrong. That is the meaning of infallible. Okay, something which cannot go wrong. So if poor people realize the value of Ahimsa, if poor people realize that Ahimsa will actually help them fight for their rights in a better manner, then they can also play a part in equal distribution of wealth in society. After all, the rich need the services of the poor in their money-making ventures. So suppose if there is a factory, somebody owns that factory. Factory owner will be rich. But how does he become rich? Only when there are workers in the factory, only when their labor is used to manufacture products. Then the factory is said to be operational, functional, and then the products are sold and then the profit is earned. So the rich persons, they need the services of the poor people. So if the poor people learn to protest, learn to fight for their rights in a non-violent manner, then they can also ensure that they are not exploited, that they are not deprived of their rights. Non-cooperation. Okay, So if your employer or the person who is your boss, if your employer is exploiting you, okay, then you too have that power of not cooperating with your employer. So you are also fighting for right. And these ideas, they gave rise to dharnas, strikes, where there is no violence. People just sit and protest. They are not working because their needs have to be met, their demands have to be put through. So they are protesting, but they are protesting peacefully. Okay, and civil disobedience. Disobey your master, disobey your boss if you are not being treated properly. But the disobedience should be civil, should be polite and not violent. So such effective methods were proposed by Gandhiji, and he was not just talking about theory. He has demonstrated to us how these methods, they succeeded in the long run, and the Britishers were driven out of our country. Okay, so the essay concludes that ahimsa is natural to man. Hinsa is not natural to us. Ahimsa, violence, is not natural. Ahimsa or non-violence is natural to man because, we say that we have evolved from animals. Man has evolved from that animal state, beast-like state. So it is understandable if an animal is violent. But we have evolved from that state. We are human beings because we have compassion, because we have kindness, because we know how to feel for the others, because we know how to understand others' pain. We are human beings because we have ahimsa within us, because ahimsa is natural to us. So if the rich and the poor realize the importance of non-violence or ahimsa, then there will be equality in society effortlessly, easily. So this realization has to happen. That is what Gandhiji proposes. Okay. Now, actually, I would like to end by stating that this is why Gandhiji titled his autobiography in such a way: My Experiments with Truth. So Gandhiji asks us to experiment with ahimsa. He does not ask us to believe him blindly. He says, you experiment with ahimsa in your own life and see the results. But you have to experiment sincerely. You have to be patient, and you have to be strong, because following the right path is never easy. Following the wrong path is always easy, but following the right path is never easy. So if you have that courage to stay with the right path, to follow ahimsa and actually experiment that ideal in your practical life, then you will find a result that will surprise you. Okay, so Gandhiji says in this particular book, if you get a chance, I would ask all of you to read it, but this is what he says about this book. I simply want to tell the story of my experiments with truth, as my life consists of nothing but those experiments. Thank you. I stop here, and I'm sure that you will learn to make positive changes in your personal lives, and those changes will have an effect in the collective living in our society. I stop.